Blessings, blessings, blessings. Welcome, welcome everyone to Womb Wednesdays, which is a regular Wednesday program for Cosmic Woman. We definitely do this every single Wednesday, bringing awareness and enlightenment to different types of reproductive situations. So when it comes to hormonal balancing, when it comes to periods, when it comes to birthing, anything that has to do with the reproductive system, womb wellness is always going to connect or tap into that. So tonight is no different, of course. Tonight we're going to be speaking about something very different, something very exciting, that kind of makes you think outside the box. And that is, of course, orgasmic births. I have my little mini-me in the corner here. I don't know how many of you can see her. And of course, I would not be able to talk about birth and talk about looking outside the box without talking about her and her birth and her arrival to this world. So before I get into any of that, I definitely want to start with prayer, which is what I do every single time when we do a womb wellness. So if you guys will bow your heads or do whatever you would usually do for prayer, and I will lead the prayer. Dear God, we thank you for your unconditional love and your mercies and your graces. We thank you for just the things that consciously we don't even think about, but you have already created for us. When it comes to healing ourselves, when it comes to birthing our children, when it comes to just being the best versions of ourselves. We thank you for being able to present these things to us. And we thank you also for helping us to absorb and appreciate these things that you have bestowed upon us. Amen. Okay, so let us get started. Please tell your brothers they're being too loud. So let's get started, guys. Okay. Yay! Okay, sorry about that. So when we talk about orgasmic birthing, okay, and let's be honest, speaking about orgasmic birthing or thinking about orgasmic birthing is not the norm, right? Because when we think about giving birth, we think about going to the hospital, we think about maybe getting an epidural, we think about contractions and pain and stress and frustration and all of these other dynamics that come with welcoming your beautiful bundle of joy into this world, right? But I am here, I am always here, to bring a different aspect to it, or to bring awareness to different angles that we can take this type of situation from. So for the whole month so far of September, we've really been getting into sex, okay? And making sure that when you have sex, it is definitely consensual, it is safe, maybe oral, maybe penetration, all of these different types of things. And so I really wanted to talk a little bit about orgasmic birthing, because of course it has to do with sex and it has to do with producing a baby, because of course unless you do IUI or IVF, you will not produce this baby without some type of sexual connection, right? So I wanted to really tap into different angles of birthing. Many times, Cosmic Woman or myself, and of course, I am Cosmic Woman, so many times I speak about hypnobirthing and how hypnobirthing literally has changed my life because of my own personal journey with hypnobirthing, and how not only did it change my view on literal birthing, but how it changed my mental state about pregnancy and about postpartum and about all these other aspects that are connected to this birthing aspect. So, cosmic birthing, may I say even orgasmic birthing. What is orgasmic birthing? Many people might ask. Orgasmic birthing is literally having an orgasm or having orgasms or having this euphoria feeling during your birthing process. When it came to me personally, because of course I always like to talk about my own personal growth, because that is definitely what I know and my personal experience. When it came to birthing, I really went a lot when I went to the side of the Western medicine side. So I learned, I studied, I read everything that I needed to know. Everything I needed to know when it came to birthing my child. What I needed to do, what the child needs, what this means, what that means, everything. I went over everything to make sure not only was I just, I understand the information, but also that I was prepared for anything else that could happen outside of the box. I am so glad that I chose hypnobirthing to do this in, because hypnobirthing really allowed me to learn about things like breath work and things like positive thought and positivity and those types of things. And so it led me into this place that I could now birth my baby in a positive realm. I find a lot of times as a birth doula that I am at births, and if this particular client most times is not a personal client of mine, maybe before this whole pregnancy aspect, or maybe even during the pregnancy aspect, but maybe we got together before she got, before it was towards the actual birthing process. I find usually that creating this bond, creating this comfort, really allows the woman to really just relax a little more, allow her to come out of her head. Really allows her to be able to birth her baby the way that she could or the way that she should. And so I really want to talk about that tonight. Tonight is really, that is my goal tonight. So when it comes to orgasmic birthing, and I'm not sure if you've ever heard about orgasmic birthing, but when it comes to an orgasmic birth, because it's I don't even know if I want to get into orgasmic birth yet, actually. Maybe what I should talk about first is, what should birthing be like? When it is that you are going to give birth to your baby, give birth to this innocent creature that is growing inside of your being. We know that there are healthy things and unhealthy things that can happen during the birthing process. One of those things, for sure, 100%, is relaxation, lack of trauma, lack of pain. Because birthing is not really supposed to be so harsh and stressful. The stress should come more from the unknown than it should come from, oh my gosh, mentally and physically and emotionally, what I am going through at the moment. A lot of people, a lot of women, I should say, that I have come across, and not necessarily when it comes to me being in the room with them during their birthing process, but more the aftermath and expressing and explaining what it is that they have been through. A lot of them talk about the fact of, oh my God, I have torn. Oh, it was very painful. Oh, it lasted so long. Oh, I bled so much more than I needed to. I didn't want to get the epidural, but I did it because I could not manage anymore. So when it comes down to really understanding what birth should be, it should be traumaticless. No traumatic, non-traumatic. Also, when we look at birth, we also want to look at things like pain. And really, where is this pain coming from? And why is this so painful? Because birth does not need to be painful. Birth should not be painful. Should there be a little uncomfortableness here and there? Yes. Should there be pressure that is happening? Yes. But when we come into things like pain where we don't know what to do with ourselves, that shouldn't be the case. When we come into things where our baby is now in distress because it is in the canal for too long, that is a problem. So any type of birthing that you decide to do, may it be orgasmic birthing, it could be hypnobirthing, it could be any type of birthing that you're doing. One of the main things that you want to focus on is this stressing me out, and is this stressing my baby out? Because birthing should not be stressful, should not be trauma, should not have a negative impact whatsoever when it comes to mentally or physically, if you are prepared. Preparation is key. You can't come to me as a birth doula and say, hey Ramona, I want to have a natural birth. And that's just that. Because the first question I'm going to ask you is, so what's your plan? Because to just decide you're going to have a natural birth is not enough. You are going to want to be able to do more than just decide that you want a natural birth. Your body is going to want more. So I just want you guys to have an understanding that when it comes to birthing, it really should be a positive place. And I'm going to give you an example to you. If you were to call me today and you said, hey Ramona, I have a birth, may it be scheduled or not, and I want you to be a part of it. I am going to say to you, okay, goddess, great. I would love to be a part of it. These are the things that I am going to do, and these are the things that I expect you personally to do. And the whole reason why I'm going to create this type of scenario is because I want to make sure that you personally are getting the things you need to do, because you are the one that's birthing this baby. Your whole world and life is about to change. It will never be the same. Ever be the same. There's no way. So I want to be able to impart different knowledge and wisdom so you can be the best birthing, that have the best birth that you need to, but also have the best postpartum situation that you need to as well. So when it comes to orgasmic birthing, right, I want to go through a little bit of the things that makes it worthwhile, I guess, to have an orgasmic birth. One is definitely the positive energy that you get from an orgasmic birth. I mean, let's think about it. The same orgasm that you used to create this baby, right? To create this fetus. Think about using it now to create the birth of this creature. Think about the chemicals in your body. The oxytocin that is used when it is that you are feeling good. When you're feeling good. When that feel good feeling comes along. Imagine being able to give birth to a child when you have that feel good feeling. There's no stress. There's no strain. There's no fear. There's none of that. All you have is positivity, good feeling, love in your heart, joy, bliss, euphoria. Do you really think that that baby is not going to benefit from that? That baby must benefit from that. That is obvious, right? So when we decide to do a orgasmic birth, we have to look back into the orgasm itself and how it is that we orgasm. Not only how it is, but you are now going to learn different methods to be able to orgasm in different ways. Because I have clients that come to me that probably have never had orgasms in their lives, but they want an orgasmic birth. How do we get an orgasmic birth without creating orgasms just on a regular basis? So that is really where you want to start. Are you orgasming? How are you orgasming? Are you orgasming because of physical touch, because of breath, because of thought, because of visual? What makes you really orgasm? What makes you really want to come? Because it's the coming, like, let's get real, guys. It's because of the coming that makes everything more exciting, or the build up of the coming. Because sometimes the build up of the coming is better than the come. Because things happen, position shift, all of these things. So it can change the dynamics a little bit. But what we definitely want to work on and what we want to know is when it comes to orgasming during birthing or birthing during your orgasming, we want to make sure that you're orgasming in general. And the type of orgasm doesn't even matter in terms of, are you orgasming? What I will say to you is, the more penetrational orgasms you can have, or should I say, the neck of the vagina. So we're not necessarily talking about the clitoris anymore. We're definitely not talking about anus. We're talking about penetrational. And we're also talking about, it's slipping my mind, oh my God. The neck of the vagina. Cervical. There you go. Cervical, right? So cervical orgasms and penetrational orgasms is really where you want to be. It's really where you want to be mentally, physically, and I mean emotionally, right? So those two places, penetrational and also cervical, will allow you to be able to have the orgasm while it is that you can climb, while it is that you can have your orgasmic birth, right? If you've never had an orgasm before, but you want an orgasmic birth, that is very possible. Don't rule it out, because it is possible. But there is work that we need to do. And when it comes to birthing, there's always work that needs to happen. Always work that needs to happen. Maybe a hypnobirthing type of birth. Maybe a orgasmic birth. Maybe a birth that you want to use belly dancing and water birth, and whatever type of birth that you want to have, you have to prepare. And not just prepare in terms of the apparatuses that you need, but you also need to prepare in terms of your physical body and your mental state. You have to do that. It is a must. Okay? So we want to make sure that happens. Now, when we think about orgasmic birthing, or when we think about orgasms in general, we don't want to just look on the penetrational orgasms or the cervical orgasms, but there are also oral orgasms that happen. And oral orgasms a lot of times are so ignored. You know, they're so like, there's like this nonchalant attitude about it. And there shouldn't be, because we really do need all different types. We should enjoy all of these types of orgasms, right? So I guess what I'm really trying to say is learning your body, knowing your body, relaxing, coming out of your head, really allows you to be able to birth your baby the way it should. No matter if you want an orgasmic birth, or if it is that you want a hypnobirthing birth, or the Bradley method, or Lamaze, or whatever other type of method you might want to use for birthing. There are certain things that will always come into play. And that is, where is your mind? Where is your thought? How do you feel? Those things are hugely important. Now, the reason why it is that I love orgasmic birthing is because it is another way to bring mom, dad, and baby together, which is one of the reasons why I love hypnobirthing as well. It brings mom, baby, and dad all together. It creates a bonding, and it's not just an emotional bonding, it's literally a physical bonding, because we have oxytocin going on, which is going to create this feel-good sensation, right? We also have the blood that's happening and the blood flow. We also have all of this clitoral thing happening, vaginal stuff happening, just because of the blood flow. And so there is this amazing feel-good moment or moments. And so we should use this. And we need to use this. Every woman is different when it comes to orgasmic birthing. Some women need literally the physical touch of orgasm. So you have some women that want to be touched. You have some women that, you know, for example, let's say for example, you're at the hospital. Because most people deliver at the hospital. So let's just give that realistic scenario. You're at the hospital. You're going through your surges. Because, of course, I don't like to say contractions. I don't like to say labor. I don't like to say delivery. Those words are not very zen-y. It doesn't create a zen moment for you, right? So let's not use those. When it comes to you really, really tapping into this sensual aspect of yourself, right? In terms of physically, or if it comes to a thing where it's breath, because when it comes to hypnobirthing or orgasmic breathing, which is orgasmic birthing, which is what we're talking about, breath cannot be ignored. It is all about breath. If we used breath more to do things, you'd realize things happen easier. They happen. It's less of a you don't have to try as much. It literally naturally happens, right? So if we get into this feel-good feeling where this oxytocin is now released and we feel good, you can do something, maybe physical, where now you want to do oral sex with your partner, or it is that you want your partner to touch you, because when you're doing this breathing, it is now not necessarily anymore about birthing anymore. Not yet. You get lost, and it's not necessarily that you forget that you're birthing a baby out your vagina, but it is just that is not the focus. The focus is the feeling that you're having, or the feeling that you want to have. And so the type of breath work that you do, the way you stroke yourself, the way you touch yourself, the way you breathe is very, very, very important to releasing that oxytocin. It's important in the way that you're going to orgasm or going to feel. And that is what we teach in orgasmic birthing. We teach about the way you're going to breathe and the way you should breathe, depending on the different stages or phases of birthing. Are you in early birthing? This is how you breathe for that orgasmic situation. Are you in active labor or active birthing? This is how you breathe. Are you in full-fledged birthing where, yes, you've reached 8 centimeters, 9 centimeters, 10 centimeters, and now it's time for baby's crowning, and it's time for baby to come out? No matter what stage you are, there's a type of breathing techniques that you are going to do or use to be able to have the type of birth that you want. I find a lot of times that when it comes to this orgasmic birthing, there really is a lot of intimacy that is developed. And you always will think, and people will think, because they're having children and because they're having babies with this person, there is a good, their intimacy level is good. But a lot of times it's not. Because you don't necessarily need intimacy and connection and chemistry to have a baby. You don't need that. You need sperm, egg, vagina, penis. That's all you need. That's all you need, right? So when it is that you give yourself or you give your significant other all of these other aspects, it heightens the situation. So the intimacy is heightened. You find you're having orgasm simply without having to go over and beyond. My job when you come to me for an orgasmic birth is to be able to teach you to have an orgasm without even a mate, without even touching yourself, without even going inside yourself. My job is to be able to teach you breathing techniques to allow you to be able to just inhale and exhale and inhale in all of these ways to then create this build-up, positive build-up of course, but this sexual build-up to then now we can release it. That is what my job is. So intimacy, you find when it comes to orgasmic birthing, gets really, really awakening during the birthing process. And then when we get past the birthing process, it's even more awakening in the postpartum process. Because now, not only have you guys connected on an intimate level, and not just through sex, but through this breathing and this touching and things that you guys probably never did before. So not only do you have that, but now you have this amazing blessing that you can hold, look at. When you look at it, you see yourself, you see your partner, you see all these different things. That is what really, really, really is so beautiful about the entire process. So yes, intimacy is very necessary, right? Touch is necessary. That positive feeling is necessary. The mentality of wanting to get into self and know what it is that pleases self is also very important. But other things that are important are things like, let's say, pain, pleasure. So when it comes to pleasure, pleasure is great. Pleasure is amazing. Who doesn't like pleasure? We all fucking like pleasure. Pleasure is fantastic. 100% fantastic. When it comes to orgasmic birthing, pain becomes pleasure. And I don't know how many of you have really ever had sex and it's painful, but then there is like some pleasure behind it. Like, okay, I can feel like it's painful, but something about the pain I like. I don't know how many of you have gone through that, but that is definitely a reality for many women, right? It's the same scenario. So in this orgasmic state, an orgasmic feeling that you're having, the pain that you would usually have during the birthing process has turned really into pleasure. You have to prepare your body, your mind, your soul. You cannot just get up today, go into labor and decide, hey, I'm going to have an orgasmic birth. Just like you can't wake up tomorrow and decide that you're going to have a natural birth when you have not prepared for it. If you want a natural birth, an orgasmic birth, a hypnobirthing birth, any kind of birth that it is that you want or desire, you have to prepare for that type of birth. Orgasmic birthing is no different. So in preparing for this, you will then be able to learn the techniques to take that pain and turn it into pleasure. What you will also learn is the fear release situation. Because a lot of times it is the fear that tenses us up. that makes us not be able to relax and go with the motherfucking flow, right? We can't go with the flow because we're tense. We don't know what's going to happen. We're having anxiety. We don't know the outcome. All of these things are running through our minds on top of probably 200,000 other things that's literally running through our minds, right? So we want to be aware of all of that. Now, we have to also think about really the beliefs that we have in ourselves. Because if you are uncomfortable with touching yourself in terms of masturbation, then an orgasmic birth is something that you need to prepare from you get pregnant. Just because you've never had an orgasm before this pregnancy doesn't mean you can't have an orgasmic birth. You can have a very successful orgasmic birth without having an orgasm before the birth. And realistically, many women are not having orgasms. So it is very possible for a woman to come to me and say, hey, I want an orgasmic birth, but I've never had an orgasm. Where do we start? And I can say, oh, okay, well, let's start here. Let's start with breath. Let's start with how you touch yourself. Let's start with what your vagina looks like. Because depending on what your pussy looks like, we can only stimulate it the way it needs and the way it wants. We don't want to overstimulate, understimulate. We want to stimulate that clitoris, stimulate that inside of the vagina in terms of the walls, and stimulate the cervix the way that it needs to be able to release, be able to orgasm, right? Now, a lot of times I really don't like to think about the negative names when it comes to birthing, because just the names of certain things throw off the whole birthing process. You're talking about labor. When you're going into labor, oh, labor. Labor is so negative. Labor, we don't want to hear about labor. We don't want to think about labor. When you're having a birth, no matter what type of birth, orgasmic, maybe hypnobirthing, maybe any type of birth, you don't want to think about the stress and the pain and the negativity behind labor. So I don't use those words, labor, contractions, delivery, pain. I don't use those things with my clients. When you have a contraction, we use the word surges. And are you having these surges? Are you having the waves and going with the wave and inhaling when you need to during that wave and exhaling when you need to when the wave is coming to an end? These things are extremely important to having a pain-free birth. Guys, when I delivered my daughter, by the time I was in labor, I'm going to use the word just because it's whatever. By the time I was in labor with my daughter, which would have been my third birth, by the time I was in labor with her, I had already mentally prepared myself for many things. Because I had gone through 2 other births previously that I had to have the epidural for, or you had to break my water, or some intervention or interventions had to happen for me to get my goal, which was my wonderful bouncing baby. When I decided to have a hypnobirth, which really was just learning about my body and learning about how to breathe and learning about birthing and what the baby needs to be able to come here, it made the process much easier. I didn't give birth in a hospital. I didn't give birth on a bed. I didn't give birth on a floor near the bed. I didn't even give birth on the toilet. My black ass gave birth in my SUV on the way to the birth center. And I was in complete bliss. And I was not even having an orgasmic birth. I was just having a hypnobirth, which is really about just relaxing and, not being in control and inhaling, exhaling and breathing techniques. But it was not about touching myself and feeling myself and going inside of myself. It was not about that. But because of the techniques that I learned, especially the breathing techniques that I learned, I was able to birth my baby in an SUV and not feel stressed, not feel annoyed, not feel worried, not being anxious. I had none of that going on. And it was because of where my mindset was, which is why these types of birthing classes are great, because it breaks down the fear, it breaks down the anxiety, it breaks down the stress, so that you can come out of this and really get into what it is that you want. How do you now go about what it is that you want? Focusing on the outcome. That is what is extremely, extremely important. Okay? I'm not sure how many people have any questions yet. I'm assuming not many have questions, because they're probably like, what the hell is Ramona talking about right now? Please save this live. All lives are saved. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Sounds fascinating. Have to have a convo with Ramona. Yes. So if it is that you want to have a different type of birth, if you want to have the type of birth that at the end of the day, you're not tearing, you're not having excess bleeding, you're not having all of this pain and these quote-unquote contractions and all of these types of things, you wanna figure out a different type of birthing process or birthing technique. And let's keep it real. Orgasmic birthing is a great option, fantastic option. If I were to ever get pregnant again, which I'm not trying to ever go back there again, but if I were to, an orgasmic birth would definitely be the first on my list. And I think it would be because I've already done a hypnobirthing. And I could see, I felt, I could feel, see, touch, smell, everything, all the senses of how that hypnobirthing birth affected me and my baby and my partner in a positive way. It's the same thing with orgasmic birthing. Same exact thing. Because if I have a client that comes to me and she says, hey, I want to have an orgasmic birth, and I teach her everything we need, when we are at that actual birth, do you think that I am going to say to her, don't touch your husband? Or don't allow your husband to touch you? Or don't touch yourself? Are you kidding? I want her to be touching herself. I want him to be touching her. And he needs to touch her in the way she needs to be touched. She might not want clitoral stimulation or oral stimulation throughout the whole birthing process. But there's going to be intervals where she's going to be okay and built back and not stressed. And those are the times that she's going to want that. If you don't have a partner, okay, let's say you and your partner broke up during this. There are definitely things that we can use. We can use lollipops. You can touch yourself. There are breathing techniques, and I can't go over this enough, guys. It's the breathing techniques that get you there. Breathing techniques are good for everything. You have breathing techniques for running. You have breathing techniques for having sex. You have breathing techniques for going to sleep. You have breathing techniques for all kind of madness. All kinds of things. It's no different with birthing, with orgasms, with any of that. It's no different. Are water births done in Jamaica? Of course. Of course. Water births are done all over the world. All over the world. And when you do a water birth does not necessarily mean, oh, all you have to do is just go in the water and give birth to your baby. You can do water birthing, maybe. You go in the water, you sit, it takes away a little bit of the stress and the strain off of your body. And then you come out, and then you walk around some more, and then you might birth again, and you come out or whatever. Or it can literally mean when you birth your baby out of your vagina, that is underwater. They're all options that are available to you. If you are in Jamaica and you want a water birth, hit me up. If you're in Jamaica and you want to go on the rooftop and have your baby, hit me up. If you want to go on the top of Blue Mountain and have your baby, hit me up. If you want to go by the sea and have your baby, hit me up. Okay? You can have your baby almost anywhere. Okay? And that is just location. When we talk about emotionally how you feel and how you prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, physically for this birth, you can have the best birth possible. No birth, as I said at the beginning, should be traumatic, should be stressful, should be any of these negative entities. Birthing should be a positive situation. And that's why I find that orgasmic birthing is so beautiful, because you're bringing this baby into this place of euphoria. You think about when you orgasm. Even if it lasts 5 seconds. That feeling that you have for that 5 seconds and how amazing it feels, and it feels like the best thing in the world. Do you think that when you are having an orgasmic birth and you have that feeling, that your baby is not feeling that amazing feeling that you are feeling? Your baby's feeling that shit, and your baby is benefiting from that goodness and that niceness. Because a lot of times what happens is, when baby is born, they're whisked away from their parents, from their mother. They're taken into an ICU. They're taken into a nursing station. They're taken wherever it needs to be. And they are not getting the gladness, the happiness, the love, the support, all of the wonderfulness that they could have. Why would you fight out an orgasmic birth? When an orgasmic birth is giving that baby all of that plus more. Don't do that. Have an understanding. Know that there are other things. If you know somebody having a baby, say to them, so what kind of baby, just like how you have them, just like how you ask, is that a boy, or are you having a boy or a girl? The same way you should ask, so what type of birth are you going to have? Are you going to have an orgasmic birth? Are you going to have a hypnobirthing? Are you going to have a water birth with orgasmic birthing? Are you going to have an orgasmic birth with, it's abundant. Whatever type of birth that you want, you can have. And you should have. And you deserve to have. And you should write your birth plan so you can have it. 100%. Okay, so I know that I went into a lot of different things when it came to hypnobirthing. And I know that it is not normal for someone to say, have a baby when you're orgasming. Your baby should be coming out of your vagina when you have an orgasm, and when your nipples are hard, and when your clitoris is up, and when your pum pum turn up. It's very weird to say, yes, that's when you should have your baby. But to me, it is very weird when people are tearing. To me, it is very weird when somebody's having a baby and they say, oh my God, it's so painful. Oh my God, I was so tired after I had my baby. What? Why are you tired after you had your baby? You should not be tired after you had your baby. After you have your baby, you should have so much boost of energy that you can't sleep. Even though your body is tired. It should be hard for you to sleep. You should have to be doing certain breathing techniques, mental things, whatever, playing music, blah, 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 meditation, whatever it is, to be able to sleep. Because all of your oxytocin, all of the euphoria that you have should be so abundant that you should not be able to sleep. So those moms I find that have, their babies born and they can barely hold them and they can barely smile at them and barely touch them. Them stress. Those moms are trauma. Literal trauma. They're going through trauma. No birthing process should be like that. You should be able to birth your baby and literally just go down to your vagina where your baby come from and take up your baby and look on your baby, depending on how long the cord is, of course. And look at your baby, kiss your baby, put your baby on the nipple immediately and make that motherfucker suck. Yes, that is what should happen. 100%. Okay, guys, so that time, right? And there's so much I could talk to you about more when it comes to orgasmic birthing. But we've come to that time where we have to wrap up. So if you are not following the Vagina Lady, please do so. If you're not following Cosmic Woman on IG, do so. We also have a YouTube channel, Cosmic Woman. If you're not following it, please do so. We have Pum Pum 101, that is on Friday. We are talking fantasies which come into play with orgasmic birthing. Can definitely use fantasy when it comes to that. We're going to be talking a lot more about fantasy. We did last week. We're going to get more into that this week. We also have a yoni toning class that's coming up at the end of the month. The yoni toning class is, I think, $8 US, 1,000 Jamaican. It is on Zoom. If you are a new client, you do get that class free. And that is really about awakening the vagina and awakening orgasms and awakening stimulation and just connecting with your vagina. Guys, we are born with our vaginas. Women, we are born with our vaginas, but we are so disconnected from them. This class allows you to connect, allows you to be able to have an understanding, allows you to be able to love her. Because let's keep it real, a lot of women really don't love their vagina. They deal with it because they don't have any other choice. But do they really love their vaginas? Most don't. Okay, so it's going to teach you to do all of that. And of course, it's going to make your pussy top. It's going to make you be able to manipulate your vagina muscles. The class is going to allow you to be able to hold your orgasms or release them or have multiple orgasms or squirt. Many women want to learn to squirt. Take the class, please, guys. So that's what we have coming up. If you guys have any questions about anything, may it be about periods, may it be about hormonal imbalance, may it be about pregnancy, fertility, birthing, postpartum, you know that Cosmic Woman is the place to go to get the information. We have all the information that we need, or we have all the information to give to you guys when you need it, when it comes to these types of things. We want to educate you. We want you to have the knowledge so that you can make the best decisions that you need to for yourself. Okay, guys? So, on that note, thank you so much for being a part of this Womb Wednesday. We do this every single Wednesday. So, please, meet with us next Wednesday. There will be definitely another topic that we will get into. most likely sex, or it might be a question and answers. We never know. But we will definitely post what the live will be about. But please, guys, keep in touch. Watch the lives. We will have more lives coming on, so please make sure you watch the ones that are already going on. DM us, send us a WhatsApp message. If you want to purchase any types of products, WhatsApp is great, DMing us is great. So please just remember that we are definitely here. Cosmic Woman and myself are here to support you in the journey that you're going through, no matter what journey it is. Healing the mind, the body, the soul, or the spirit. It is important. If it is that you just had a miscarriage, I'm reading a thing right now, I suggest you doing a vaginal steam. You definitely want to do at least 3 vaginal steams in a week process, so that you can release whatever you need to release, and you can heal whatever in the vagina that needs to be healed. Thank you guys a lot for tuning in, and thank you so much for having the patience to hear me talk about all this type of madness that I talk about. You guys know that I am always going outside the box, and I will always go outside the box, because it is really about bringing awareness to things that nobody thinks about, that nobody wants to talk about. It is my job to bring it, especially when it comes from either a mental, emotional, physical, sexual, or reproductive way. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. You need to get a Renew Life that is 100 billion cultures. 25 billion cultures is not enough. You're going to have to take at least 4, which means that your bottle is going to be done very quickly. So try and get more than 25 billion cultures. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. Reagan here, of course, wants to say hi. Say hi, Ray.
I said hi already.
Oh, she said hi already. She's not an orgasmic birth baby, but she is a hypnobirthing baby. And we definitely love the hypnobirthing situation. It is a great way to allow baby to come into this world and feel at peace, and feel that they are wanted and they are needed and they are accepted. And best believe, this little one feels like she's wanted, needed, accepted, and all of the above. Right, ma'am? Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Love and light to all of you. I can't wait to see you guys again on Friday for Pum Pum 101, but definitely also for next week, Wednesday, for Womb Wellness. Thanks again, guys. Love and light to all of you.
Bye.
Say bye, Ray.
Bye.
Love and light, guys.